Hello everyone, welcome back to another 1/6 scale figure review. Today is going to be the T-1000 2.0 from Judgment Day. Such an amazing film and a really good job here by Hot Toys. There are some negatives and I'll get into those pretty quickly, but overall the offerings that you can get out of these guys, pretty much, this is almost a double pack. I pretty much crudely threw a second body onto this with the add-ons that you can get. And then you got the main figure here by Hot Toys. And unfortunately you got kind of a disappointing box. I do like it, but I really love the 1.0 boxes better with like the metallic silver cover. But at the end of the day, the boxes are either going to get thrown out or put in storage by most collectors, so in the grand scheme of things, who really gives a shit about the box? But as I zoom into the head sculpt here, that is 100% Robert Patrick. I'm lost for words. It's just an amazing sculpt by Hot Toys. And the counterpart head sculpt is just as good. Interesting that they have used this sculpt. Not complaining, but I would have loved if Hot Toys gave a different expression. I personally would have loved like the split head, where he's kind of like opened up in the middle of his forehead and it's just completely split in half. Also, the end scene where the T-800 like launches a grenade into him and he just turns into this big blob monster would have been really cool. But nonetheless, this is still an amazing sculpt. And like I said, this is just a quick little kit bash that I did with the remaining parts. And I think it looks okay. It's not the best, but I just threw what I could quickly on a spare body. But yeah, I think what I'm going to do now is remove the box and zoom in a bit more on the proportions of the Hot Toys one here, which is this guy with this setup. This is the stock Hot Toys here. Talk about the proportions and some of the negatives that I've come across with this guy. And yeah, we'll get into it. So I've zoomed in to the top portion of the figure, more the upper torso, and that's pretty much the main negative I have with this figure overall, is the shirt and the button up. So the white shirt underneath is a bit of a annoyance. It's actually a really big annoyance where I don't even want to move the sculpt for fear of that just constantly sliding up. Not too sure why they used like a weird turtleneck style when they could have instead just used something like this, which would have just rested in place and never have risen up no matter how you move the head sculpt. It's very weird. I don't know if you can take all this off and switch out the body. I'm not too sure. I have seen someone mention on the instructions that it's advised not to start pulling the clothes apart. I don't know why that would be the case, but maybe I heard wrong. But I might swap out the shirt underneath to an actual good one where it's not going to rise up and all that. And unfortunately, the other negative I have is the really jarring stitching all over the place shirt. And I'll quickly put some side-by-sides up of the prop, the screen-used police uniform, and you can see it's not jarringly bad and standing out like the Hot Toys one. And that's not really expecting 1-to-1 scale clothing to match in 1/6, but coming off like the John Wick figure that I just got in hand and seeing how good that tailoring is, and then seeing this guy, it's like a massive step down. And obviously this isn't Hot Toys' first time doing like suited figures or dress shirt figures and all that, so I don't really understand why they went so bad with this. And just as I go a little bit handheld and hold the figure itself and kind of move around, I also noticed with the stitch work, I also had a lot of loose, like broken off bits that would kind of like stuck to the suit. There's a good example of just kind of, it looks like it's just kind of pulling apart there. There, you can kind of see it there. It's really weird why Hot Toys have done this, considering that they're usually pretty top notch when it comes to tailoring. That side's not too bad. But yeah, just this portion of the shirt, it's actually just the shirt itself that's not the best with the stitching. The pants are 100% fine. Like, there's no problem. Like, that's fine. Even the back is fine. It's not a big problem. It's just a shirt. Because obviously it's built, the pattern work's built to kind of stand out. That's exactly what it does. It stands out. But yeah, as I'm just moving him around, and obviously I got a little bit of harsh lighting just to showcase the blue shirt, but the likeness even in this harsh lighting is still really, really good. But yeah, I was looking at the Present Toys one online, and I personally don't think the Present Toys tailoring is as good as the Hot Toys one here. But I do think I want to get the Present Toys one just to have the motorcycle look, because I'm pretty scared crushing the helmet on and the glasses on this guy, just for fear of paint rather than scratching and all that mess. So I would rather risk it on the Present Toys one, because I don't, well obviously because, you know, it's third party and clearly this is way better than the Present Toys. And you know what, as I was going through some of the accessories in the box, I think it would have been pretty awesome if you got the milk or juice bottle that John Connor's foster parents were having when the T-1000 invaded the home, kind of on the end of his extended finger. kind of like slip on like an accessory of a juice bottle or milk bottle or whatever that dad was drinking at the time of his death. I think that would have been like a fun play with the pointed fingers, or one of them. But yeah, there's so much good accessories here. I don't really want to go and swap around and go through everything. Again, the helmet, I'm a bit worried to chuck on this guy. Because I remember like the old Alex Murphy figures from the first RoboCop film had the same mechanism, and I do remember seeing some people suffer scratching and denting and paint rub with putting the helmet on that guy. I don't remember if that was a problem on the 1.0 T-1000, but it's a risk I'm not willing to take on such a good head sculpt like this. And luckily the Present Toys one is still available on some sites to grab, so I think I am going to snag that guy and have that one in the police uniform. And at the same time, you're going to hide the sculpt work and likeness with a helmet and, you know, Ray-Ban glasses. So if I had the choice, I would rather cover it on the inferior head sculpt that looks slightly like Robert Patrick, and obviously have this guy here as the end scene right before he gets shot and falls into the melted lava. And I might as well just quickly go through this guy and the different lookouts and swaps that you can achieve if you just simply get a second body. Obviously under here you don't have the vest or the shirt. It's not 100% accurate, but I think for the time being, until the Present Toys one comes along, this is still decent to have. However, I'll just spin him now, and I did have some issues with this guy in particular with the jacket. And as you can see here, his pouch or patch of the medical symbol is, I don't even think it was glued in the factory. Like, there's no glue residue at all in that. So I don't even reckon, like, this is the good old, like, shit Hot Toys glue. I don't even think they glued that to begin with. They just chucked it in the box. Because there is nothing there to indicate, like, there's residue. So I'm going to have to obviously put a little blob of glue on that. And obviously this is the reference of what it should look like. The belt, going down to the belt, I'm not too sure if this is pleather or if this is leather. Hot Toys again aren't really disclosing their materials as usual. I'm going to assume that it's pleather simply because they usually, you know, parade around that they use real leather when they do use that material. Or maybe we're wrong. Maybe it was leather. I'm not too sure. It's decent, but, you know, if it is pleather, then it's just a ticking time bomb before that destroys. But I'll pan down to the boots, and this is something that a lot of people have complained about, and also myself. I do think Hot Toys probably should have given a base topper to have the metal grain match the boots, but also in the director's cut of the film, his boots do match this flooring. So Hot Toys should have probably given a second option to have the boots match with this flooring when John recognizes that the person he thinks is Sarah is the T-1000, and it kind of has this metal grain intergrained with the boots, not just this still look, which is obviously in that third act, but it's in another scene. So Hot Toys should have given us a base topper to match these boots, and then an additional pair to match this flooring. I do like the boots, but again, it's not convincing enough to match with this flooring. I would have also loved if they'd given the ice, you know, when the liquid nitrogen hits him. I would have loved if they had just a reference of that scene. I'm not expecting Hot Toys to do like a full frostbitten look, but maybe just the boots, just frost up the boots and have like a swap out of him slowly turning into ice. That would have been really, really cool. I can see some customizers doing that, and that's going to look insane in the future. And just a bit of a concern with this look in particular, because I do remember Justin's collection mentioning that the magnets on his 1.0 kind of rusted and degraded and left staining on his original 1.0 T-1000. So I'm not sure if that's going to happen with this guy, but I love that these are magnets, so you just pick and play where you want to put it on. I would love to have him fully displayed in this look, but the fact that even something like these rusting over time and potentially staining this shirt, just the fact that it happened to someone is kind of enough for me not to use that. You know, I don't know why that would even be a problem to begin with, you know. I don't know if that's a humidity thing. You know, I'm obviously from Australia too, just like Justin, so I don't know if that's a humidity problem or if that's actual, like, them using bad magnets or something about the glue mixing with the magnet is leaving some weird oil stain over time. I have no idea why that would even happen. But I do love this look, and I would probably prefer to have him displayed like this, just because it's going to make the display a bit different with the battle damage. I feel everyone that's collecting this guy is probably going to do the pose. And I do love that, but I personally would have loved to have had the battle damage. But because there is a worry about these magnets potentially rusting over and leaving this weird rust residue on the guy, is, you know, it is concerning. And I'm just looking off screen on the magnets. There is a weird color difference with it. So I don't know if it is rust that Justin experienced, but that's not, you can see it right there. That's not like a chrome look that regular magnets have. It's got like a weird gold spray to it. You can kind of see it discoloring. Wait a minute. I haven't just completely fucked up the figure, have I? No, I don't see any stains on it as of now. No, there's definitely nothing there. But there is a weird color difference to the magnets, so I don't know if that's a concern long term. You can see it right there with the light. There is a gold color, and you can see there is like a weird color change there. But yeah, just the fact that someone had an issue with these previously, and I would assume that Hot Toys are just rinsing and repeating the magnets, I would be very careful keeping this on long term. Maybe some tape just to stop that connection with the fabric. I don't have a clue, honestly, and again, it's disappointing because I would love to have it displayed with the battle damage. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, this figure has pretty much become one of my favorites in the recent times. Yes, there is a negative with the clothing, especially the shirt. But I think because there's just so much swap out, the likeness is so good. And the display base is also really, really great. I think that, in a weird way, kind of makes up for how shitty the stitching is. Is it an eyesore? Yes, but I can kind of live with it. It definitely could have been better, but at the same time, I'm not expecting 1-to-1 scale fabric converted in 6 scale 100% of the time. And for that, I can kind of excuse it. And yeah, the likeness is just so good. Future Terminator related stuff, I am probably going to get the Present Toys one, just to get that motorcycle look. I love that look in the film, with him, strolling around Cyberdyne building, jumping off, and just smashing his head into the helicopter window. I love that look. And I think with the Present Toys, like I said, if there is going to be like a crash dummy test to see if that helmet is going to scratch the figure, I would rather test it on that guy and sacrifice the third party head sculpt rather than this one here. And to be fair, the Present Toys one, from what I've seen, looks fairly good. Obviously not Hot Toy standard, but again, you're going to cover it up with the motorcycle gear. And for what it's worth, it looks pretty good. And hopefully this is a good sign that the 2 T-800s are on the way. Because definitely I need to get them. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys did enjoy this, make sure to like and sub. And I'll see you in the next one.